Hey guys, back here to kind of insert myself into the debate that we've been having for the past while on the community about independent wrestling and the fans of independent wrestling and how they kind of handle themselves. Well, I'm not going to talk about the fans because people who have responded to Spinnernet already have kind of I've agreed with them to a large extent on how the fans are perceived and how the misconceptions are about indie fans. So I don't really need to go into detail on that because I've already, it's already been said. I don't need to really talk about that. But there is one point that I want to elaborate on that I heard in a video that I thought was a very good point and a very practical point on that. And that was on Honor Hammer's video on the response that he made. So that is why this is going to be a response to his video as opposed to, a response to Truth Slayer or a response to Spinnernet. I'm going to respond to Honor Hammer on this because this was his point that I wanted to elaborate on and kind of make the basis for why I think that mainstream fans, there's no reason to think that mainstream fans will not like independent wrestling if they are exposed to it. That's kind of the point that's being made here. What Honor Hammer said was how he kind of got into indie wrestling was, he was a big CM Punk fan when he first started in the WWE, and when he looked up CM Punk on Wikipedia, he kind of found his whole history in Ring of Honor, and that was kind of the first time he heard of the promotion, and that kind of was the first step to becoming a fan of it. That to me is probably the most practical approach to buying Ring of Honor DVDs for new fans who have never been exposed to Ring of Honor at all. Like, I don't really see how right now anyone could not have been at least somewhat exposed to the product because the TV show is on YouTube, so people have made that point already. So there's no real reason why you should think that before buying a DVD you have absolutely no experience of the product and no idea what to expect. But for someone who for whom the TV show isn't enough of a selling point, then your favorite wrestlers being on the DVD should be. If you really like these wrestlers, then you can at least say that, okay, I'm buying this DVD because I want to kind of have their whole career, highlights of their whole career, including their independent wrestling career, in my DVD collection. So that might be a most practical approach to take. For me, it wasn't really like that. For me, it was more of the fact that I started watching reviews on here about April of last year when I only watched WWE and I only watched TNA, and I always saw these Ring of Honor reviews, and they always included high scores, a lot of star ratings that were really good, just a lot of 8 out of 10s, 9 out of 10s, and I was like, okay. Eventually curiosity got the better of me, and I decided there has to be something here. There's no reason why these shows can't be good if they're getting such high praise. And so I made my first Ring of Honor order, which was 2 shows, Super God of Honor 3 and Super God of Honor 4. I loved both those shows. I thought they were great shows, and that was what kind of started me as a fan, just by watching the reviews on here. But people have been doing that for forever, and still haven't convinced some people to try out the product. So it doesn't work for everyone. But what could work for a lot of people is kind of realizing that one of your favorite wrestlers more than likely had an independent career, because very few people go directly to the mainstream. So more often than not, you'll find that some wrestlers have kind of rose up through the indies before they have come to WWE or come to TNA. Look at WWE. If you're a big fan of CM Punk and you think that since he turned heel he's cutting the best promos in the company, then go watch some of his Ring of Honor stuff, because there are some promos in there among the Ring of Honor career that he's had that are really, really good, that are probably a lot better. Well, I'm not going to say a lot better, but substantially better than what he's done in WWE, because he's cut a lot of great promos in WWE, but some of his Ring of Honor stuff when he was the champion is actually better if you really go back and look at it. So you could buy a Ring of Honor DVD like Joe vs Punk 2. That has one of the most amazing matches in Ring of Honor history on it. It's not the most stacked show by any means, but it's got CM Punk versus Samoa Joe as the main event. You can be kind of guaranteed that if you like CM Punk, you get that DVD, you have at least one match that goes for an hour that's a really good match that you would actually like. So that would mean that the DVD is not a complete waste before you even buy it. So that's just one example. Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan got released. If you don't like that, if you think that he was a big prospect, if you liked him, then what I would say to do is follow his career for the next 90 days until he possibly might come back to the company, and realize that for the next 90 days since he got released, he has made it his mission like to go back to what he was always doing, converting as many people as possible to independent wrestling. You know, his first indie appearance will be out on DVD. Maybe not this week, but next week. The two Chikara shows in June, where he was in the main event of both those shows, and that was his return to the independents. You know, if you like Daniel Bryan, there's no reason why you should not pick up those shows, and at the same time, you can find out if you actually like Chikara. You know. By all accounts, you know, he's going to be facing Eddie Kingston. He was facing Tim Donn. So those sound like two pretty good pairings right there. So there you go on that. You know, who else in WWE? You know, Evan Bourne. You know, if you like Evan Bourne, there's plenty of independent stuff of his that is really good stuff. The same with Kaval. You know, we've only seen Kaval on WWE for a few weeks now, but if you're impressed by him, go ahead and look at some of his reputations from independence over the years. There's some really good stuff there. There's even more guys in TNA. I could go over all of them. There's at least half a dozen, if not more, that have had very impressive indie careers that are at least worth checking out if you really like the wrestlers. You know, I think it would be a very practical approach. You know, if guys like Honor Hammer or Sanders Robin or Big Rats could do reviews of some of the Ring of Honor shows that showed these guys that are now in WWE and TNA, kind of showed their best stuff. You know, the best. I wouldn't be able to do that myself because I don't have nearly as many shows as those guys have. But think about the best Samoa Joe match in Ring of Honor and what show that's on. You know, do a review of that show and see if Samoa Joe fans can actually be convinced to buy the show. The same with any other guy, any other wrestler that's in one of those two big companies right now. You know, what is another example? You know, apply it to something else other than wrestling. Music, let's say. Some of my favorite bands of all time, I have tracked down some of their, you know, the stuff that has not made it to commercial albums. Some of the stuff that's kind of, you know, demo versions of their songs, kind of unfinished versions of their songs. You know, why would I want that stuff? Obviously, it's not better than what they've released commercially because, you know, it didn't make it onto the album or whatever. But I do like to have that stuff because it's kind of fun to have it and see how like the songs and the album kind of develops and evolves from what I'm seeing here on the demo to what I'm seeing on the album that was released to millions of people. And it's fun to see that development. It's fun to see how that moves, and you can apply that same thing to, you know, these wrestlers who are now in WWE and who are now in TNA. And if you buy an independent wrestling show on DVD with them on it, you can kind of see how they've developed since those days, and kind of, you know, have fun with that, have fun doing that, making that distinction. You know, it doesn't sound that hard once you like think of it like that. So that might be like the best approach for new fans to kind of get into independent wrestling products. You know, I mean, it's even applied to me to an extent, even though I don't rely on it maybe as much as other people might. But, you know, take Daniel Bryan. Go back to Bryan Danielson once again. He'll be. I haven't bought a Dragon Gate USA DVD since Open the Freedom Gate because I haven't been interested. I haven't been interested in it. And Bryan Danielson against Shingo at Enter the Dragon 2010 on July 24th. That's a great pairing. That is that can easily be a match of the year candidate. And if that turns out to be as good as it could be, then I'm going to buy that show on DVD. I'm going to get that show because that's a really great match. I want to see that match. I want to see how good that match can be. And that's enough for me to buy another Dragon Gate DVD. The same thing with the Evolve show. He'll be at the Evolve 4 show, and I haven't bought an Evolve DVD yet because I haven't been interested. But if they announce a great opponent for him, and it turns out to be a great match, then I'll watch that show as well. And if I like how the Evolve show happens, because I don't really like the tone of the promotion to begin with, but if I like that show, I might actually buy some more Evolve shows, even if Daniel Bryan is not on them. Bryan Danielson. Name got mixed up in my head, but that might be the best approach for new fans to go about trying indie wrestling and giving it a chance. You might not like the show, but if you at least buy a show that has some of your favorite wrestlers on it, it's not a total waste. So that's kind of my 2 cents. That might be the most practical approach to take. I hope this was enjoyable and informative. I'm out. Later.